We've recently had 2 bear attacks up here at the off-grid cabin by the same bear. I've set up an electric fence. I'm going to show you some of the mistakes that I made to hopefully make it a little bit easier if this is something you're doing yourself. And we need to educate this bear, right? Because he's been back 2 times, this is now a food source for him. So I have full expectations that he will return, and when he does, we need to teach him a lesson. Setting up the fence was fairly simple. There's a learning process for sure, but once you got your components, then it comes together pretty simply. I'll show you how it works here. First thing is, I wanted to have lots of space to work around. I don't want to be bumping into the fence if it's just right behind the beehives if I'm doing my work. These chargers will electrify a fence. Well, the one that I'm using will electrify a fence up to 30 miles, so the length is not the issue at all. There's a few different options for the type of wire you can use. You can use a poly rope, a poly wire, or this aluminum tension wire, which is what I used. These are plastic gate entrance holders. The fence is on right now, so it's pumping about 8,000, between 8,000 and 9,000 volts. But this is just a safe way to get in, so a little easy way to get inside the bee yard. I just sort of walk it around this tree here, and I got this metal post planted in the ground. So that means that at this point, you can hear it clicking, so there is still current going through there. But at this point, the fence, there's not going to be much of voltage going through the rest of the fence because that electricity is being grounded. It's being sent right into the ground at the bottom of this pole. So we can safely enter the bee yard here. Inside this hive box here is where my components are. So here's what we got inside the box. You can hear it clicking, so that means that it is sending out an electric pulse through that wire. It sends it out every 1 second, so if you ever, accidentally grab onto the wire or touch it and your fist clenches up, it's going to release after a second. So I'm using a deep cell marine battery. This was actually powering the cabin up until a couple of days ago, but we've replaced the cabin battery with a lithium battery from Ecoworthy. And if you'd like to see a review on that, it's an excellent lithium battery. I do have that on my YouTube channel here. So these solar panels here, these are really, really old. These are, I'm not even sure, they're either 15 watts a side, these are like 20-year-old panels, or they're 30. I have a feeling they're only 15 watts. But this battery only needs barely a trickle charge, so it should be okay. If not, I will pick up a new battery and swap it out. And then the solar controller just makes sure that we're not overcharging the deep cell marine battery. So I went with the Parmac Magnum 12 fence charger. You can see it right now that it is in the green. So it is putting out roughly about 8,000 volts. We're going to test it in a minute and make sure. But that's it. It's pretty darn simple. There are 2 connections here. So there is and I've just got them coming out of the bottom of the hive box. So one goes to the fence, and that is our live connection. So this is a 3-strand fence, and all of those wires are live. And then down here, the ground is going to a 6-foot grounding rod that I drove down into the ground and just put a marker beside it for in the winter time. I just make sure I know where it is. And over here you can see the fence is connected by these 3 strands. Now, I could have done a better job of this. You can actually get, proper connectors to make sure you've got a full connection coming through. But this will work, and I have gone through and tested it, and the fence is giving out a good charge. I'm going to eventually install a breaker switch just so that I can turn the battery connection on and off. For right now, all you need to do is just remove your ground, and then now the fence is not electrified. So there are a few things to consider. The main thing is none of these wires can be touching any weeds at the bottom of the fence, so you just got to really make sure that you're clearing your weeds, not having any grass grow up to touch the bottom wire. And same thing at the posts here. These are insulators, and they make sure that they're insulating this electrified line from your metal fence posts, because if that touches the fence post, that electricity is all just going to go straight down into the ground and you're going to lose the charge on your fence. So what were the mistakes that I made and how can you avoid them? Well, don't do what I did. The first thing is, I'd watched a bunch of videos and I knew that the insulators I knew that the wire has to go or should go on the outside of the posts. And the reason for that is because bears, they like to pull and knock stuff over, right? So I looked at the fence post. I thought I knew how the insulators fastened on, and I made sure before driving all of these fence posts into the ground with a post pounder, I made sure that they were just in the right spot so it would be easy enough to do that. Well, Clever Joe frigged up big time because, in fact, the posts were not in the right direction, and I had to dig up every single one of those posts. And the crazy thing is as I was pounding them in the first time, I was thinking to myself, hope you never decide to move your bee yard because you'll never want to have to pull these posts up. What was I doing 10 minutes later? Pulling all the posts up. So don't do that. The other thing is, this was a mistake that I made. I'm going to live with it for now. I will change it if I need to. But this is tension wire. The tension wire is supposed to slide without restriction through all of those insulators. So theoretically, if a deer, came running through here and crashing through the fence, all of this wire would just slide and I just touched the post. I keep thinking, you know what, someday, dude, you're going to touch that fence. So make sure that tension wire is free to move, because in the case of a deer crashing through it or even a bear, taking down the fence, it's going to minimize the damage because all of that tension will just be resting on the final post that the wires are attached to. And at the worst, it might just, pull that post down or snap your wire in that one place. I thought I was being smart by double wrapping the wires around each post. I shouldn't have done that. I should have just left it as is and made that tension at the end of the line as opposed to trying to keep all the tension between each post. I've read that other people have done this and it's okay for now. So let's bait this fence. Because the bear has already been here, he may just walk through this wire. I mean, their fur acts as an insulator. So if they don't know that it's electrified and just walk through, they might get a little bit of a sparkle, but it's not going to deter them, right? So we want to make sure that we put something on the fence that they're going to go and smell that, touch it with their tongue and their nose. Nice piece of bacon, some peanut butter on the lower wires for those raccoons, because dear God, I'm just so looking forward to watching one of those raccoons just do a somersault and then leave my bees alone for good. So let's do that now. Using my nice knife from Beeberry today. Beeberry. Some no-name 30% off bacon, nothing but the best for Ron Baramy. Okay, the fence is baited. Get some nice delicious bacon for the bear. Some nice delicious peanut butter for the raccoons. I baited it in a couple of different places here. Some more raccoon bait there, some peanut butter. A little bit of peanut butter right there. And some double action. Some raccoon on the middle strand, raccoon bait, and some bear bait. Nice delicious bacon on the top. I might come down to the electric fence myself later on tonight for a little snack. Okay, let's get this closed up and then we will do a testing of the whole fence to make sure that it's got enough voltage to do its job. This is an electric fence tester. It's got a little grounding rod here, so you just want to make sure that this sticks into the ground. Then you can test it here. And we can see that it is blinking up to 10,000 volts. So whoever decides to have a taste of bacon is going to feel it. It's always a good idea to test various parts of your fence just to make sure that the whole thing is got loss of voltage. So let's test right beside the bacon. Let's test right beside the bacon here. There we go. We got a nice 10,000 volts right there. Yeah. Come on, raccoons. I dare ya. I freaking dare ya. I want to see it. I don't want to, I don't like to see animals get hurt. Just as a note, this is not going to kill anybody. It's certainly not going to kill a bear. It's not going to kill a raccoon, and it's not going to injure my dog either. But it will teach all of them a lesson, and that's what we want to do. So I would like to see them being taught a lesson. Sorry. I've just been dealing with these raccoons for so long. I've had beehives up here for a decade and a half, and I never had raccoon issues. But about 3 years ago, there was a trio of these 3 little brats who were born. I call them the 3 idiots. And that was like their first lesson, was to come and raid a beehive, and they've just never let up. I've tried everything up here. They've never taken down a colony until the bear attack, when they all came in after the bear attack, and I didn't know about it for 2 weeks. So I had 2 colonies just scattered all over the place here. And that's when all the raccoons came in, converged, and yes, they did end up, the rest of my bees absconded. And I think that it was because of all the stress of just night after night, and even in the daytime, these raccoons were out raiding. So yeah, this is a bear fence, but it's also hopefully a raccoon fence, and we'll see what happens. I've got the trail cam ready to go right beside that bacon. I'm kind of hoping for a show. Let's see some education at work. Come on, Ron. Hopefully this was helpful to you, or entertaining at the very least. Oops. Hit the slow motion button. Think I was saying something important. And leave a comment. I'd love that. Happy off-grading, guys. See you in the next one.